Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com.
You know, one of the things that I took away from my viewing of Superman that I briefly touched on last week was how apolitical it was. And you're saying, well, why are you bringing this up? Because it would seem that the internet's gone into a bit of a meltdown, calling it woke Superman, something about him being, referred to as an immigrant. And then there was other discussions around, he's woke because he's too good natured, because forgive me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the original concept of Superman is that he's a super good person who's always trying to do the right thing? Apparently that's woke. And I just wanted to start the chat today just to touch on that, because I just thought jumping the shark doesn't even really describe that kind of thing. But again, it's a feature of what happens online now. I mean, obviously, if you have a look at something like Barbie from the other year, that was a lightning rod for this kind of discussion. But I think that potentially that, there might have been aspects to that film that would have, made it easier for these folks, if you want to call them, to go down this rabbit hole. But they're really like stretching it with this Superman thing, because like I said, there's nothing really political in this film at all, because they deliberately went for that sort of light and hope and all this sort of stuff. But seems like nothing gets beyond the grasp of the internet trolls, it would seem.
Oh, no, and, if you thought you saw it, it really happened. Get a pile-on going, and then the rest takes care of itself. And the truth doesn't really matter, even if it is out there.
Absolutely. Truth's actually an interesting concept with this particular topic, and what we'll talk about mostly for the rest of the episode today, which is AI video generation. And I think just taking a sort of 30,000 foot view at the moment is that I think everyone's been blown away with the, I guess with ChatGPT coming in, and then this sort of explosion of AI tools and products coming online. And I think there's been I think all of us have been amazed at its abilities. The thing with this presentation that Google did on its VO, I guess it is, VO3 AI video generator, it's, on the one hand, super impressive what it can do, but on the other hand, the implications of what it will end up doing to just traditional film video production, any sort of creativity in that field. Obviously, there's like the components of ad creation, which is a whole disturbing bent about this is just going to facilitate more content that's easily generated, that can be, not with less budget to sell you stuff. But the other concern for me was the creativity extinguishment aspect, because once you start using a tool like this to make a film, make a TV show, make a late night show, maybe or anything really. What then is the point anymore? Because YouTubers won't have it'll encroach in their space as well. I'm not saying that unselfishly, since that's what we're doing right now. We weren't generated in Google's product here, of course, but it does disturb me that where is this going? It feels like circling the drain, because if you take the humans out of this kind of creativity, you're really going to have some serious negative impacts on culture and artistic expression, which I would have thought is a fundamental aspect of being a human, I would have thought, and existing in the world that we live in.
Oh, that's very true. And I think what's the real danger here is the fact that we're going to shorter and shorter content, and that suits AI just fine. And that then just takes the legs out of any reason for any studio to put up big bucks to even try and make a film when I can do it all without the people, without the hassle, and in next to no time at all. And honestly, as we've commented now for the last 10 years or so, as we're gradually seeing, I guess, your blockbuster films become more and more generic with scripts that could have been written by AI. Well, there's not much of a case, or that there's not really much of a fight that it looks like anyone's going to put up. It'll just gurgle down the drain, and we'll be left with the dregs.
Yeah, well, there's the encouraging point to think about, because at the end of the day, obviously people have different interactions with content, etc. I think there's kind of I think the word content is kind of become a negative, has a negative connotation to it anyway. And like you said, it's now just all become noise, but so far it's been human-generated noise, and now it will definitely go down the route of AI-generated noise, and and I guess that loss of connection to an artist creating something, or is it, I guess maybe the best case scenario is what the artist is going to use the tool to create something. Is it still from them? If or they've given the AI prompt a 5-sentence description of what they want without actually having to go through the meticulous and backbreaking work of literally creating the thing from start to finish.
Well, we can go back through our own history, and I think this is what probably the general public don't understand. And I've always been amazed when people talk to me about filmmaking, how little they understand even about traditional filmmaking, which by today's standards really is scarcely high tech. What you've got now is you've got this double whammy of you've got basically you're taking out the human aspect. Even of consumption. Once upon a time, humans had to make content to serve it to other humans for them to appreciate. Now you're taking out the human side and of creation, and if you take that out, and it's really getting hard to see the argument for needing a human. Of course, that's a false argument, but it's one that's very easily adopted by those with an interest, i.e. a financial interest in just churning out more content. And as content becomes disposable, as we become less deeply engaged or less deeply moved or connected to the content we consume, simply because of its volume, because it's short, because it's served to us, it's not looked for or found, you create a very singular or one-dimensional environment for consuming art and creativity, and that then just leads to the lowest common denominator.
And I would say that, for all the, fears around a Skynet scenario, I wouldn't actually be worrying at all about AI becoming self-aware. I'd be more now concerned about AI being used in this way. It doesn't even matter now that it would become self-aware. That's like something that, isn't necessarily something to be concerned about, because if the life's already sucked out of it of our experience, our human experience, just from AI tools, then it's you don't want to say it's over, but it kind of is in a way, because that's kind of the defining experience of what we're all on about.
Oh, completely. I guess the thing that's really going to happen if you lose that creativity and artistic edge in human culture is then effectively we all become less aware. And that's perfectly put by you, where if we become less aware, then there's no way that AI is going to become self-aware. But what AI will do will be to perpetuate zero awareness until we're all snowed under by information we don't need, information that manipulates and conditions us to behave in a certain way, at which point we will have done the job to ourselves.
Absolutely. Also wanted to touch on this topic that you sent through to me about this guy that's making vertical videos walking. Oh, he used to walk dogs and now he's making these vertical micro dramas, earning $1,500 a day. Hey, the only thing I'll say to that in the context of what we were just discussing, milk that for as long as you can, because obviously you won't need to do it in person for too much longer.
Well, and this is, the whole vertical filmmaking industry is based on short-termism, and it's based on snippets. As you say, it's short, punchy content that slips into a feed and makes me think, wow, I'd like to know more, and then purchase the full product, which may or may not be anything like you've seen in the trailers. Where have we seen that before? So, once again, this is indicative of a cycle, but also a direction that we're taking. And I like the idea of vertical filmmaking. I like the idea of almost a democratization of creativity that can be achieved through this. But in the greater context of what we're talking about today, it's only leading in one direction. And once again, it's not a positive one.
Just finally, just picking up on that point of the democratization of, say, making films, making videos, and all this sort of thing. It does take me back, obviously, to that period that when we were making films in the late 90s, early 2000s, where there was all this discussion around, digital was evil, film was the only thing that should be used when you're making a film. And the thing that I remember is that even at the level we were doing at, which was, we were spending pennies to make this, to make the films anyway, but it still wasn't cheap, and it wasn't something that you would do like any normal person would do, because it was still a lot of effort and a lot of expense even at that level. It's just that it became within the grasp of people that were interested in doing it, and there was kind of I remember a sense of positivity around, this is going to be great that it becomes democratized going further into the future, because it puts such a rich hobby into the hands of people that wouldn't have had it before. Now that this is well and truly arrived, it's now going even beyond that democratization with the inclusion of these AI tools, because it's now going to take it all away completely by doing this, unless you're happy to just feed a few prompts into a generator and do it that way. Obviously, it's a little bit more involved at the moment than that. I'm just kind of simplifying it, but I just find the progression quite fascinating, that we're at a point now where the democratization of creating content, making it easier for people to do. Now it's so ubiquitous and so much noise and so much is generated that it ends up you can't break through on anything, and it doesn't register. And now if we're going to go to the point of AI taking even that ability to even produce anything away, wow, I never would have seen that sort of through line back then.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important that we emphasize we're not against these tools, but this is very much the way the world's going. So it's not actually, I don't think either of us are bemoaning a death to the film industry because of AI, as much as we're at a point for society now where we're allowing very few, very wealthy, I guess, entities, which are effectively your tech entities, to dictate everything about our lives. The level of privacy you have in your life, the way you consume your life, or the role you play in life, is all shaped very much by social media and these very few and very strongly dominated channels. And that's really what's happening here. If these AI tools were to be used creatively in, I guess, a more traditional filmmaking or artistic sense, and you can see some great examples of this anyway, that would be fine. But we're becoming or approaching a point where the AI tool is actually becoming the product, and that is what's dangerous, because once it becomes a commercial product and it knocks out the human competition, which is, as we know, well and truly weakened by now in terms of content production, it really doesn't leave a lot of room for the creativity and even for a society that functions with fresh new ideas, because they'll all be iterative and they'll all be harvested from some time long past.
Yeah, it is important to say that it's not the AI tools themselves. To me, it's like another version of the internet started in a positive place and went downhill. Social media started in a positive place and went downhill. This is how we're using these tools, and AI is going to go down that route as well. And that's the bit that you got to, sort of watch on and sort of be careful with what you wish for there, I guess.
Well, it certainly doesn't say much about the way our society's headed. And I think, and it also exposes the great weaknesses of the human condition, I think. And everyone should pause and think about that. But really, just it's always a weight of numbers game and a dollars game at the end of it. And at the moment, maybe it's not balanced the way that it should be.
Absolutely. All right, Steve, we might wrap it up there. We'll keep on watching. We'll see what these AI generating video tools can do. They're only going to get better. I think one point to finish up on is and to highlight is it's all happening very quickly.
It is, and I wonder, if you think 6 months ahead, I think we'll really start to see the full force of AI taking over every social media channel.
Absolutely. All right, so that's it for this week's episode. We'll catch you next time.